To Dallas. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being there. We went on to detail his thoughts about the city and how proud he was to play with the star on his helmet and how badly he wanted that. Now, contract talks with team owner and general manager Jerry Jones have not gone the way that anyone has wanted, concluding with a statement that Parsons no longer wants to play for the team. When Jones met with the media, he had a message for any concerned fans about this situation.
I love these guys. Frankly, I could be any place in the world. And I want to be right here. I want to be right here with camp. I enjoy these players. I enjoy Micah. But as always, in any relationships, there are different moods at different times of your relationship. That's what it is. Don't lose any sleep over it.
So just to be
That's
clear,
the one thing I would say to our fans. Don't lose any sleep over it.
Jerry Jones qualifying Micah Parsons as a mood that he's in right now to say, thank you, I would like to move on from playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with just level setting our thoughts about where we stand right now with the Micah Parsons contract situation with the Dallas Cowboys. Manti.
Well, when I played, I had a teammate named Brandon Mebane, and, to answer the question, they're handling it like a business. Jerry Jones always handles it in a business way. And Brandon Mebane told me my rookie year or my second year, he said, listen, there's two different types of teams. There's a business within a football team, and the other is a football team within a business. Now, Jerry Jones runs this thing the way that his whole life has transpired in business. Like ever since he was 25 years old, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he wanted to buy the Chargers once upon a time.
Yep.
And his father told him, no, don't buy the Chargers. Like, you don't want that type of negative cash flow. Well, he goes into a real estate deal and starts experiencing the effects of negative cash flow. So those lessons in his life taught him the importance of why he doesn't want to be in those situations. Well, he acquires the Dallas Cowboys in 1989, and they're going through like $1 million a month in negative cash flow. His first thing was to limit the overhead. His second thing was to bring in sponsors. So for Jerry Jones, everything has been about numbers. He's a numbers guy. There's a reason why he's worth what he's worth. There's a reason why the Dallas Cowboys are now, I think it was like $10 billion evaluation on them. I think it was a crazy number, the most expensive franchise in all of sports in the world. So when it comes to Jerry Jones and negotiating these contracts, everything with Jerry Jones is about business. Everything about Jerry Jones is about numbers. It's about how can I make this franchise, this brand profitable. Now, number 11 makes you extremely profitable. So that is something, Will, that I'm always I think we have to keep an eye on. It's definitely with Micah Parsons making that goodbye letter definitely makes it interesting. But again, how they're handling it over there, especially Jerry Jones, every single year has been about business.
Yeah, it's super interesting. 2023, I spent time there doing the Bill Walsh Fellowship, and I got to split between being a coach and also being in the front office. And I got to sit there and listen to a lot of things happen in the front office. And I really sat back and thought, because as a player, you really don't know what's going on upstairs. And I remember I sat there and listened. I was like, damn, this is no different than running a Pepsi company, like any other company. Because sure, you have the product, which is the soda, but it's about the brand and imaging. And if something didn't make sense, like for example, bringing in players to work out, he's like, I'm not going to pay for that. Like for what? So I really looked how he operated, as you mentioned, Manti, this entire company. He's done this forever. He's an elite businessman. But we've seen this before. We've seen this with Zeke, right? They went into September in terms of trying to sign him. We just saw it recently with Dak. With Dez, he pushed it all the way to the tag deadline. D-Law got tagged twice, I believe it was. So in his situation, he's like, look, man, like I'm going to handle this. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. There are more problems that he's dealt with in that company. I think over 1,000 employees he has to handle. So I see what he's saying. Don't lose sleep. But the fact that this is happening, I want to say it's alarming because I've seen it before. Eventually, I believe they'll get something done. But, yeah, he's going to operate as a businessman. He knows what he's doing. So it's still a pain in the you-know-what. But
well, let's peel this back just a little bit. Let's peel this back. Jerry, if there's nothing to lose sleep about, then you're telling me that Micah is going to get a new deal, all right? So why wait then? Don't tell me there's nothing to lose sleep about. Show me. It's a homegrown player that you drafted at the right age, at the right position, so why not just take care of it? And you know why? Not quite time yet. Let's let simmer for a while. It's only August 4th. Let's let that sucker simmer. Guys, this is Jerry Jones' 37th training camp as the owner of the Cowboys. 37th. These billionaires get bored. You can only go on so many jets and yachts. You can only eat so much caviar. How do you stay entertained and alive if you're someone like Jerry Jones? Some of them get into gambling. Some of them get into politics. Jerry gets into contract standoffs. This is his thing. This is his hobby. This is his polo. This is his pickleball. And by the way, it's not a bad philosophy either. Let's get all the heat and all the hoopla at the beginning of the season, because we're not going to get it at the end of the season, and we know that. Teams want to win the Super Bowl in February. This team wants to win the media in August. It's fact, like, it's almost these contract standoffs and holdouts. It's almost like in this era, they have become the Cowboys Super Bowls. This is now their Super Bowl, because whether the player gets a lot of money or the team feels like it gets a better deal, it doesn't matter. The Cowboys still win because they live in a currency of clicks. Hang a banner, another championship. They won the CeeDee Lamb Super Bowl, hang a banner. The Dak Prescott Super Bowl, hang the banner. Anybody you want, Zach Martin, anybody across, they are Super Bowls. I am old enough to remember when they won the Emmitt Smith Super Bowl and he took them to overtime. It's become this thing where Jerry likes this. I fully believe it. It's early, talk about us, why not? Time was, how about them Cowboys, was a victory rally call and a rhetorical question in a Super Bowl locker room. Now, how about them Cowboys is an actual question that talk show hosts pose at the beginning of A blocks. And that's exactly how their owner likes it. So congratulations, Jerry. Thank you for executive producing this segment.
Why are you chuckling?
Just Kyle. Like, to Kyle's point, though, there is Oscar Wilde had a quote that said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. And Jerry Jones understands that. We're not talking about anything around this time. Like, I think we've talked so much about Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones and this contract dispute more than any other topic. And this has been a yearly, annual thing. So, Jamie, to Kyle's point, it's just Jerry Jones knows, like, this is the opportune moment for me to put the star on front page on a beginning block of a sports channel, so that they can talk about it and see how we have that star at the bottom left of the screen. That's what he wants. He understands. He's a businessman.
Well, during the offseason, the NFC East talk has been less about the Cowboys, which I was like, okay, good. They're kind of flying under the radar. And, we just talked about Jerry is great at building a brand. And he's like, hold up. Hold on.
No, we got to get us back on brand.
I need to do something here. We got to get back in the fold. And so right on time, like you said, he loves doing this. It's funny, Kyle, when you mentioned the private jets that he takes and what have you. And I remember sitting there having lunch, and I look up in the sky, and I just see the helicopter land right on the field. And I'm like, that's who he is, man. So it's just fun. It's right on time. It's right on time what he's trying to do.
Kyle, I first of all, well done. It's a great angle on a take that needed to be said, I think, about the brand and the star and what have you. But to your point, it's like Trey Hendrickson is sitting in Cincinnati saying, like, wait, hold up. Like, everybody was talking about me. Everyone was focused on what I was dealing with. And now Micah Parsons swings over the top, and Jerry Jones pulls up once again in the middle of a field, and the media has to gather around him to ask these questions. At what point, though, does this become so insulting for the player that these situations are going to work against them? Or do you just feel like this is not even a question to be had, because no matter what, come September 7th, we are going to see number 11 out there with a star on his helmet?
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones hates what Trey Hendrickson is doing. He wants the Bengals to pay him. He hates what Terry McLaurin is doing. Get all those guys paid. Make it all about here. You guys know that, like, the Dallas Cowboys, the cheerleader show as Emmy nominations, like, they're closer to winning the trophy than the football team is to winning the trophy. Like, the television show about the Cowboys image is more successful than the Cowboys football product. So in terms of Micah Parsons, I think Jerry loves this. And I don't say this flippantly, and I don't say it lazily on a Monday morning. We've seen it enough times to know. And here's the thing. Find me one person who thinks the Cowboys are going to trade Micah Parsons. Find me one person who thinks the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Can you find a person who thinks either of those, let alone both? I just don't think it's going to happen. And Jerry says that he's behind those aviator shades. You can see the twinkle in his eye. Nothing to lose sleep about. I think he adores this. It's not annoying to him. Some owners are probably pulling their hair out about their star player holding out. I think Jerry would do it if his star player wasn't. It's like, what are we doing? Our August goals, we got to have somebody I can talk about. I really do think he enjoys it as a hobby and a pastime. I think he thinks it's good for business because, let's face it, the winning Super Bowl thing is we've gone at this a quarter century and a bunch of different iterations. It doesn't happen. You can't win in February, so light them up in August, and it makes sense. Let's move some product and sell some jerseys.
You think he believes that this is good for business just for the brand? Because I look at these two guys that played in the NFL, this, to me, the interpretation of all the things that have gone down between Micah Parsons and, frankly, a ton of players before him. But right now we are talking about the Micah case. I would find this condescending and insulting. So at what point is there a tipping situation here, a tipping point, that Micah Parsons is like, enough, he's already gotten there, enough. But the player or the players, at some point, is this going to backfire? How would this make you feel if you were a player?
I mean, Michael Parsons already has explained how he's felt. I think even Des Bryant came on and said, man, I salute Michael Parsons because he's doing something that we didn't do, as referring to previous players for the Dallas Cowboys. So I think for Micah, understanding what he's meant to that team, not only what he's meant to the team as far as production, but his appearances. Like the guy, I think he missed 4 or 5 games in his whole entire career for the Dallas Cowboys. So he's been available for them. He's produced for them. He's been probably the only guy on that team besides Diggs on the defensive side that's really going to be able to carry that momentum going forward. And that's what you need if you're a Schottenheimer this year. I definitely would take it as a dig at a certain point. But then to what we've been all saying, Jared Jones, this is what he's been doing year after year after year. So to Jared Jones' point, don't lose sleep over it. As a fan, we're looking at like, this happens around this time of the year all the time for the Cowboys. So it's kind of expected at this point, Will. Yeah,
so that being said, don't lose sleep because it has happened numerous amount of times. Micah knows he's going to get paid. Like you said, this is a standoff. Jerry's excited. Somebody who has had so much success, they are looking for something like Kyle mentioned, like something to get him going. And Jerry's in his 80s. And he's like, I'm here for 37 years because I'm going to get a star player who's going to show up. And eventually it's going to be his time to get paid. And I just want to hold on and wait.
If you're comfortable with all these owners that we're showing just on camera, like having a giddy old time at training camp, and they're just addressing that their star players want to be signed, and the fans are like, please, desperate times, pay the man, okay? We already covered Micah Parsons. Now we're going with Terry McLaurin. It's time for Going for Two. That was a Commanders fan asking Washington managing partner Josh Harris to sign, pleading with him, how much money can I give you to sign this wide receiver? Quarterback Jaden Daniels and head coach Dan Quinn also spoke about the 2-time Pro Bowl wideout over the weekend.
He's communicated with me with stuff like that. I mean, it was the same with me. He told me beforehand what he was going to do, and then before it went out there, he did it. So, I mean, I respect Terry, who he is as a man and what he stands for, even a football player also.
We love Terry. I'm really glad he's here. Hopefully he's out practicing soon. And we also understand there's the business side of this, things that Adam and his side and Terry and his reps are working it through. So I just kind of, stay in that space. We recognize both are happening. But like I said, I'm really glad he's here. I love coaching him. And but the business side, that's kind of where it's at. And it's not, somebody asked me, is it a distraction? It is not.
All right, we're flirting with something that we normally don't do on GMFB, which is level of concern. How concerned are we that these things are happening? But if we put a cute spin on it, then we're allowed to do it. On a scale of 1 to 17, since Terry McLaurin wears number 17, how concerned are you with this Terry McLaurin situation now that he has requested a trade out of Washington, Manti? 1 to 17.
1 to 17.
17 being the most concerned ever.
Okay, I will go 3. I'm not that concerned. And the reason why I'm not that concerned is because this has happened over the course of history. I mean, this happened just this past offseason with Myles Garrett when he requested a trade in early February and then he signed in March 9th. Like this happens all. Lamar Jackson in 2023 requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens and it was signed like a month later. Like Jalen Johnson, Budda Baker, all of these guys have done it. So this is something that happens. It's not an end of the world thing. It's not saying that this player isn't going to play for that team again. It's just something I think it's for players and athletes in this game. It's a tactic that them and their representatives use to go and get some leverage. Matter of fact, Jalen Johnson actually requested a trade and was granted permission by the Chicago Bears to seek a trade and still was signed back to a mega deal. So I'm not concerned at all, Jamie, about this thing. I think by Dan Quinn's response. You could tell how much he loves it, but he also understands the business side of it. He doesn't seem too concerned, in my opinion, by how he's behaving and how he talked. So I'm not too concerned as well, Will.
All right, we got a 3 on the board, Will. What's your number?
We got a 3. I'm going to treat it like the price is right and just go 1. I'm going to go $1 here. I'm not. The reason why I'm not superly concerned, because I said superly, didn't I?
You did.
Overly concerned.
Yeah, overly. You got
Super
it.
concerned.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah.
It's all good. No, overly concerned because, one, he's there. He's holding in. He's not holding out, right? He's there. He's signing autographs. He's in the building. He's walking around everywhere. And you saw Dan Quinn not concerned. With Adam Peters, I mean, he came from San Fran, right, where, disciplined negotiator. They build a roster over time, sustainable for multiple years, going to multiple championship games. And plus, too, if he did a trade in August, that would set the world on fire. And that is a place where finally things are going in the right direction on all levels. So I'm not concerned. There will be no trade. He's going to get paid. But I understand Terry's situation where he's like, yeah, get your money.
Kyle, please take us to the other end of the concern meter.
He's not.
I'm going to give you an 8.5. Oh. Right down the middle.
Okay.
And because when you get to the requesting a trade level, that's pretty significant. That's not I'm unhappy. That's not I'm unfollowing you on Instagram. Like that is legitimately concerning. The next step after requesting a trade is demanding a trade. Then we go up to like 10 or 11. The reasons, the other things that have yet to come with Terry are, I'm concerned when they're not there. I don't know where they are. They're on some beach or some facility somewhere. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't like that. I don't like when they make declarative statements on social media. I don't like any of that. I like when the teammates, sometimes, guys, we're hearing Jaden and Dan Quinn talk about how much they love Terry. Sometimes it gets to the point where they start chirping Terry a little bit, like, we really would like to have him here. And, he's let us, we've seen all that stuff. That's why it's not up at a 10 or 11. The number one reason why I only have it at an 8.5, what did I say, 7.5? 8.5 is it's August 4th. It's August 4th. And they play the Giants in the opener in about 5 weeks. So we will double back on this. We'll probably quadruple back on this. But right now I have it at an 8.5.
I like the way we did this, though. I'm not sure why we didn't do a 1 to 11 with the Micah Parsons thing. Maybe we're going to have to circle back on that one since it is only August 4th. Next, going for 2. Former number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow's first 4 seasons in the NFL were spent with current Titans head coach Brian Callahan, or Callie, as everybody refers to him as. He was previously the Bengals offensive coordinator. Now, Callahan is coaching this year's number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward. Callahan sees comparisons between these two quarterbacks. He lays it out.
I grew with Joe for 4 years, and he became the player that he is now, which is, arguably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football. But he wasn't that as a rookie, and it was good to reflect back and watch and listen and see the things that he struggled with as a young player, things that didn't make sense to him, things that took a little bit more time to understand. All that stuff has factored into how I've gone about the process with Cam. My favorite part about it is I see some similarities in their ability to process information, and so it's been fun to sort of compare and contrast where those guys have felt really comfortable and then where maybe they have some things that aren't quite as easy for them that you would want it to be to start.
All right, the exercise isn't as fun when the player wears the number 1. On a scale of 1 to 1, no, we're not going to go with this. Manti, work us through Brian Callahan comparing this young quarterback to another one in the league that has reached an amazing amount of success already in Burrow, to Cam Ward.
Well, I think it's important to identify what he compared to. He said he processes information.
It's important.
That's important. He's not saying he's throws the ball like him. He doesn't say he runs the ball like him. He's saying that he processes information similar to Joe Burrow. Now, that's an important thing. I will say this. When you watch Cam Ward throw the ball, he throws the ball with the ease that Joe Burrow does. When you watch Joe Burrow throw the ball, there's certain quarterbacks that you just watch him like, man, that guy can really throw it and he can really sling it. Now, both of them, as far as physical abilities, are underrated scramblers. We saw Joe Burrow last year run it for like 50, 60 yards against the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. We saw him be able to do that. Cam Ward demonstrated that throughout his career as well. He's not Mike Vick. He's not out, but he can run. He can hurt you there. But then also their backstories. You talk about proving themselves, Joe Burrow transferring from Ohio State to LSU, Cam Ward going from Washington State to Miami. Like, those are just guys that They have a very clear sense of as to who they are as a player. They have that confidence, that quiet confidence about them. But it's nice, and it has to be really exciting for Titans fans to hear Coach Callahan, or Callie, you said, Jamie, say that he processes information similar to Joe Burrow, because that's the difference in the NFL, is the mental aspect of it, Will.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early when you're comparing, obviously, overall physical abilities and body of work, but it's not too early when it comes to the mental part. And that's where we're in the world of comparisons. We have seen something what it looks like, and we're trying to find what it looks like again. When people come to me about quarterbacks in general, I'm like, look, man, I play with Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I seen it firsthand in person, like what it should look like. You know, we just talked about last week when Aaron Rodgers compared Jalen Ramsey to Charles Woodson. He saw exactly what it looks like. And during this whole process with quarterbacks, I'm sure when Callahan sat down with Cam Ward, he was like, man, like how he processed information during the pre-draft process, that's what he reminds me of. And, you know, we got into this. We got all excited and crazy when Daboll went and drafted Jackson Dart. Well, I'm sure he sat in a room, was like, the only other quarterback he drafted was Josh Allen. So I can see something from a mental perspective what it looks like. So it's not too early to get these comparisons, because you've seen what it looks like. And we're trying to find, like, okay, when I evaluate this player, do they have these top qualities I'm looking for? So it's not too early mentally, but obviously body work and physically, it is.
No, I mean, listen, it's too early for us to compare them. It's not too early for Brian Callahan. He has the PhD in these guys. He's the guy that you want to hear from. This is totally credible. And let's remember, Joe Burrow as a rookie comes in 2020, COVID season, very strange atmosphere. In his second career game in the NFL, Joe Burrow threw 61 passes. They threw him right in there, and eventually he ended up getting injured his rookie year, but he was the part immediately. I just want to say, like, I can see this happening already. I can see already August 4th, people coming around and being like, oh, wow, Cam Ward is pretty good. Save it. I was on you guys at the draft. I was on you guys after the draft. No one gives a damn about Cam Ward. You don't care about him. And when they come out and they go 1-0, 2-0, 3, everyone's just going to come sprinting to the Cam Ward bandwagon, and you're going to get the bejesus stiff-armed out of you by me and the 4 other people in the United States of America who actually cared about Cam Ward when he was drafted. So he can compare him to Joe Burrow. He can compare him to Joe Montana. Just don't come running when the season starts and be like, we like Cam Ward now. Nonsense. You're obsessed with a 4th-string Browns quarterback when you should have been talking about the number 1 overall pick. Don't come lately. Should have been there from day one.
The thing to say, is it too early for us to be talking about this because we haven't fulfilled our quota? We already fulfilled our Cowboys quota. We have not fulfilled our Browns quarterback room quota yet. So, Kyle, want to make sure we get that out of the way. Any comments on that? On that crew? We got any Joe Flacco takes? No? Anybody want to just tally that off my list?
I'm not making it up. I saw that Adam Schefter tweeted that Shedeur Sanders was like held out of practice or something with a shoulder issue. I'm paraphrasing. And I'm like, that's got to be the first time in NFL media history that a 3rd/4th-string quarterback's injury update was posted in the middle of training camp. That's history, but we're still checking in on him. In the meantime, the number 1 overall pick's doing pretty well and getting comparisons to Joe Burrow by the guy who used to coach him.
We look at this from over the weekend. We're going to hear from these guys who went into the hall over the weekend. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb. 2025, this is the winning the best lookalike contest for person to bust. I really do think that. Like, some of them come out, they unveil, and you're like, I'm not sure about that. And nope, I think 2025 leader in the clubhouse for guys that look most like their busts. Well done on the guys that work on that, the people that work on that. Let's go listen to Best of from Hall of Fame weekend in Canton, Ohio.
We all share a deep love and respect for the game of football, and it transcends time and place. Football incentivizes what's special about football, the pursuit of excellence. In short, it calls for everything you got, and that's what I tried to give it.
The last time I was here, you said that you were the only pro football player in the Hall of Fame that could say this, that you were the 2nd best player in your own family. Well, I agree with that statement, but
fans have really bad timing, and they ask these questions when you're at dinner or you're with your, watching your kids' sporting events. So I usually make some crap up. I make it up. I'm like, you know what? You got to eat 3 jalapeno peppers before every game because you got to have a burning in your gut. And I feel bad about that now because there's probably some kid out there with some serious gut issues because his dad was just jamming peppers in his mouth. before every game.
Had it not been for sports, I probably would never cross paths with half of you in here. And that's why sports is such a great reminder to us as humans that we're not divided as people may think. We're more than just black or white, rich or poor. That's why it's important for us to keep pushing unity to make this country a better place.
Antonio Gates, Jared Allen, Eric Allen, Sterling Sharp, all receiving their gold jackets over the weekend. If you are that parent who is giving your son jalapeno peppers on behalf of Jared Allen, Tom's Pepsid, all great options for you. Manti, what stood out to you from over the weekend?
Man, it's got to be when I heard Antonio Gates speak about Phillip Rivers, that specific clip where he said, I always knew where the ball was going, Phil, and I knew it was coming with a purpose. Like, that took me back. I felt extremely old at that time because I remember watching these two men go to work every single day at practice and watching them during a game. There's nothing better, and you understand this, Will, there's nothing better for a defensive player when you're on the team with these two. Yeah. And you know that when the game's on the line, as long as 17 is behind center and you have 85 running routes, that special things were gonna happen. And just remembering those catches he made going down the middle of the field against Sean Lee for the Cowboys, or that catch between Cam Chancellor and the linebacker against the Seattle Seahawks when we played them at Qualcomm, like those pivotal moments and those memories that I have being their teammates, man, that was one of those special moments for me. So congratulations to Gatesy, an all-time great.
Yeah, and I'm going to stay with the same theme. I had the absolute honor of getting drafted by the Green Bay Packers and playing with them for 4 years, and just really being around the history, the magnitude, all the alumni that would come through. And you always heard about Sterling Sharp and just how much he meant to the program, how much he really set the tone as one of the pillars in that wide receiver room. And just what he did, you know, he's on that list of guys who had an amazing run for 7 years and career cut short. You think of like Gale Sayers, Kenny Easley, Tony Baselli, and just what he did overall. And plus, too, like it's right now, I think that's the deepest position to try to get into the Hall of Fame. You still got Torrey Holt out. You still got Reggie Wayne, Jimmy Smith. So for him to finally get in after playing 7 years, and just in those 7 years, was he the most dominant receivers? And I can arguably say outside of Jerry Rice, he was.
And Larry Fitzgerald comes up next year. I think he'll get on the first ballot. The wide receiver thing is always refreshing itself. And if you're looking at the game now, there's going to be a lot of that for the decades to come. But I always think it interesting at these Hall of Fame ceremonies when you see a player that you loved, that you grew up with, and they've changed dramatically since their playing days. Maybe they've changed physically. Maybe they've mellowed out in their later years. I always think that's interesting. Jared Allen didn't do that at all. He showed up exactly like you remember him, like you liked him, and with all of the antics, all of the look. And here he is doing the hog tie. This is at the jacket ceremony up there with his kids. Jared Allen split his pants on stage. It's so perfect. I don't even think he tried to, but he look at right down the seam of his pants. So awesome. I bet Jared bought those like at Sears or something, like the day before, or maybe even in Canton, Ohio. He bought those like at the mini mall. His daughters appear to love it. Everybody in the Allen family, and that is like, I like how some guys change. I like how some guys don't. And now that Jared Allen is in football immortality, he'll return to that jacket ceremony for decades to come. I hope he shows up that way every single time. He's really an all-timer. Classic story, 4th-round pick. Becomes one of the greatest pass rushers of all time, and also has a Hall of Fame sack celebration with the hog tie. I've always loved everything about Jared Allen on the field and now in football heaven.
It's an authentically Jared Allen moment. But I need to see that clip about 17 more times. Kyle,
yeah, pretty good.
What concerns me the most, Kyle, about you having this clip
Bam.
is that move that he did when he reached around the back of like, oh no, that like he knew exactly what had been done and now he's got to hustle off stage. Kyle, did this trigger you to the point where has that ever happened to you?
It's a great question, totally fair. I've done a lot of stuff on the show. I've chipped my tooth. I've torn my Achilles. I've bruised a rib. I don't think I've ever torn my pants, but thankfully most of the show was only from the waist up. I think it's like that night that he was doing that. That is the evening jacket ceremony when they're first presented with the jacket. It's very elegant, very classy. There's a lot of tears of joy. And he comes up there and turns it into like professional bull riding. And all of a sudden, it's the right seam. Then look at the inner right thigh.
Yep.
That's not a little tear. That was a full rupture all the way down the seam. An incredible destruction of the pants. And he knows, oh my God, they're going to see my britches under here. and I got to cover this up because it's a classy night. It's perfect. Jared, you truly are a Hall of Famer. I love you.
The slow-mo of Aaron Rodgers throwing to DK Metcalf, because it's not training camp unless we see a slow-motion, perfectly spiraled ball from quarterback to wide receiver to elicit such hope and optimism for an offense that you just hope that this kind of thing happens in Week 18 and not just the first week of training camp. Yesterday on Inside Training Camp, Ian Rappaport and Steve Smith Sr. actually asked DK Metcalf if some of those workouts that these two engaged in at UCLA in the spring has helped their connection now in camp.
Getting those live team reps is nothing like, getting, the 11-on-11 reps with the QB center exchange, making sure the O-line has the blocking assignments, going against that reckless defense that we got on the other side of the ball. Every play I get to go against either JPJ, Jalen, or Slay, so I'm always getting better in that aspect. So, the off-season workout helps, but it doesn't compare to real football once you put the ball down in training camp and, helmets are clashing and everything.
Ooh, helmets are clashing. We love it. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, guys, when you look at the Steelers, and maybe you just readdressed the initial question, which is I'm calling Aaron Rodgers the most important person on the Steelers as it pertains to their success in 2025. Yep. Outside of him, if you view him as such, who is the next most important person, Manti?
Well, you could go a lot of people, but I got to say it's got to be Cam Hayward. And listen to me on this, all right? When you talk about T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, you don't have that production if you don't have a guy like Cam Hayward pushing the middle of that offensive line back. Not to mention Arthur Smith and this run-first, run-heavier approach. That type of approach is really great. However, that type of offense doesn't have the scoring power to get a lead to catch a lead if they fall behind. So in those cases where the Pittsburgh Steelers are behind in the game, you're going to need the defense to step up. And obviously, an offense that is going against this defense is going to try to run the ball a lot. And you can't have a good run defense, and I know this as a linebacker, without a dominant interior D lineman, and Cam Hayward has been that for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, what pertains to the Steelers' offense and the Steelers' success so far, I got to say that Cam Hayward has to be that guy beside Aaron Rodgers. If they want to have a successful 2025 campaign, they have to stop their run. They have to be able to limit the offensive opportunities for their opponent, and it's going to start up the middle with Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward will.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the running back room. I'm going to say the running backs for the Steelers, especially now with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he's 40 years old. He's not. You really want to put the whole book on him, like I guess Tom Brady's last year, where he led the league in passing. But the reason why I want to mention the running backs is because you're in a defense, you're in a division where it's like really dominant with defense, right? And how are you able to nullify these pass rushes? Well, get the running backs involved, right? How are they in pass protection? How are they getting out? He's going to see a lot of too high shell because they want to sit and be able to play defense overall. So how do you attack that? You use the running backs. In 3 of Aaron Rodgers' MVP seasons, the running backs ranked in the top 11 in receiving and rushing. You go to Tom Brady's year, his final year with the Bucs. I mean, they were top 5 in total yards rushing as the running backs, and they were in the top 10 in terms of receiving. Same thing, Peyton Manning, when he won MVP at age 37, his running backs were ranked in the top 10 in receiving and rushing. So, with Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, and Kenneth Gainwell, and Trey Sermon's there as well, I think just overall as a running back committee, if they can pretty much do their part, it's going to really alleviate a lot. Because if you got the play action, Aaron Rodgers is going to be extremely dangerous. So if the running back room can do their job, I think to me, outside of everyone else, like obviously the obvious answers are, like you mentioned, TJ and Aaron, but I think the running back room is great.
I think the obvious answer is the guy holding the reins. I think it's Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator. This is an interesting thing here. He is a guy who is 43. His quarterback is 41. They're from the same era, the same age. Like, what is that marriage like? Because I pointed this out last week. Aaron Rodgers has never done this before, meaning he has never gone to a new team and gone with an offensive coordinator that he has no history with. When he went to the Jets, it was this guy, Nate Hackett, who he had a lot of history with. He was curated specifically for Rodgers. This was just Arthur Smith was the guy the Steelers chose well before Rodgers was part of the team. And then Rodgers becomes part of the team, and they just have to make it work. It's not picked. It's not selected. It's not filtered for Rodgers, no Rodgers with Arthur Smith. I don't think they really knew each other very well. So I don't know how it's going to work, because if it's not working, Rodgers is different than a lot of quarterbacks in the sense that there's this whole thing about him changing plays in line of scrimmage, him audibly, and that came up with his relationship with Robert Saleh and the Jets. He is not just your typical, I'm out of college and I'm 24 and I'll do whatever you say. in a lot of ways, he is the coach. So I don't know how that marriage is going to work. I don't know what happens if it's not working. It's just, that's a fascinating one. Tomlin and Rodgers, fine. But Arthur Smith with the headset calling plays for a guy in his 21st season who knows everything about the game, I don't know. Sometimes the plays get called back to you. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I like that answer because historically, they just have not been doing well as having a coordinator. I mean, not since Todd Haley. So, Kyle, I love that answer. I think a lot of pressure is on him to get it right because so far, Mike Tomlin has not been doing a great job finding coordinators for this offense.
Oh, what you're good at and what you're not good at. When I have to read something that says SummerSlam 2025 and it went down at MetLife Stadium, I know inherently that I am not going to explain the following video as well as it could be done. So instead, I'm going to ask Kyle to walk us through a huge moment from Saturday's show because, guys, I just wouldn't do it justice. Kyle, take it away.
All right, let's get into it. SummerSlam over the weekend, multiple night event now. And here we go. So WWE has their deal. Seth Rollins walks out with Paul Heyman. CM Punk is in the ring, and Seth Rollins has the Money in the Bank's briefcase. But wait, he's injured. Or is he? He drops the crutches, drops the limp, drops the knee brace, drops the jacket, and then drops all pretense and struts into the ring in which he uses his right to use the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he goes against his old rival CM Punk and ends up winning. The backstory, guys, is they call it the ruse of the century. Seth has had everyone convinced, depending on what you believe, up to and including his boss, that he has a serious knee injury and he could not wrestle. This is in the ring. This is out of the ring. It's an amazing, amazing piece of showmanship, and it ends up with Seth Rollins, our dear friend, going and getting back another belt. We all have our reactions to it. We thought we've seen everything from pro wrestling. I don't think we've ever seen this.
So wait, he took this thing all the way, you're saying outside the building onto social media? Like, we were concerned. Were you concerned about Seth Rollins' lower body injury that he just walks in there?
Yes.
Kyle, are you okay with this ethically in the wrestling world?
It's an incredible thing. Not only am I okay within the wrestling world, I have some inside information here from Good Morning Football. And everybody listen, I'm going to tell a story. Our GMFB producer here, his name's Chris McLean. He knows Seth because Seth's been on the show several times. A couple of weeks ago, Chris ran into Seth Rollins at the gym where he goes to exercise. He saw him there. Seth has the knee brace on. He is fully talking about and owning the injury. He's dragging his leg around. He's limping. And he tells Chris, yeah, I'm just injured. You know, SummerSlam. Chris, the intrepid producer he is, he says, well, if you're going to be off the roster for a while for wrestling, why don't you come in and host with us in Good Morning Football? He was trying to get him in here because he wouldn't be wrestling. He completely sold it. He's out and about in the public gym in character, selling the ruse not only to the public, but to people he knows like Chris, only for him to walk out in front of the SummerSlam audience and finally drop the crutches and go in and win. It is a full backstory of incredible ingenuity and commitment to the bit, up to including lying to our own staffers here on Good Morning Football just to sell it for this moment, and I could not respect it more, Seth.
KB, did they say what gym? First of all, Chris, shout out.
Yeah, way to get in your cardiovascular health.
I mean, I can only imagine that he goes to an expensive gym out over here in L.A. County. Did he say what gym, KB?
Yeah, I think he works out at a place called Curves. It's a high-end spot for all the wrestlers and the producers. I don't know much about it, but that would be my guess. Maybe Planet Fitness, but I don't know the gym.
Shout out to McLean. I had to do some research on this one, guys. I didn't know what was happening, but I watched the whole clip. I found out what the Money in the Bank thing was. What a brilliant demonstration of tactics by Seth. So shout out to Seth, friend of the show. I thought that it was perfectly executed.
All I know is that just means, Seth Rollins, and I'm looking right at you when I say this, is that we have the privilege now and the right to roll your butt in here to host GMFB with us, even when you are injured or not, because no one's ever going to be able to tell whether or not you are actually injured. It's the ultimate injured. It's the ultimate boy who cried wolf. So at this point, a crutch or not, Rollins, you're getting in here. You're going to come on GMFB, and that's just the demand that we are going to make if you are going to lie to the producers' faces the way that you did, my friend.
This is fun. This is what reminds me of 10 years ago, Kyle, the heist of the century, similar to that.
Sure.
This, if I wanted to put it in football terms, this is Colts Saints in the Super Bowl where the Saints line up and all of a sudden, boom, onside cook, the ambush. Like, that's exactly what I see it like. And it's funny. I appreciate that. That's the one thing I do appreciate about wrestling, man, is like take it full all the way through with the character. So I love it, man. This is what it's all about.
See, I think it's like we're going to get, let's just say, Bills, Eagles in the Super Bowl, and for the entire 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, Josh Allen is injured, and he's in a brace, and he's not practicing, and the Bills starters come out to warm up, and then just after the national anthem, Josh Allen comes out and drops the crutches and the brace and runs out and starts punching the Eagles. Like, that's how ridiculous this is. And Triple H was even like the head of WWE. He's like, I'm not sure if I like the bogus medical reports. Like, he's playing right into it, too. Really, just when you think we've been watching wrestling now 40, 50 years on the mainstream, it's still coming up with new stuff.
I was just about to say that what Triple H acknowledged. Just like, then you're going to have media members who are going to be annoyed about the conspiracy that the injury reports were falsified. It's like, it's just, so take things so seriously. Well done, and we will see Seth Rollins soon enough here on GMFB. Friend of our show, congratulations. And one of the kings in the AFC would be that of King Derrick Henry. Just an absolutely prolific year with the Ravens last season, and now he is reconnecting once again with Lamar Jackson. But no matter what jersey Derrick Henry is wearing, it is one of the universal truths in football that it is impossible to tackle that man. So when you consider watching training camp footage of Lamar connecting with Derrick Henry, taking him down, trying to from the back, usually it takes multiple players. So his teammates now who are attempting to do this in practice were asked about tackling Derrick Henry and what that experience is like. Here's Zay Flowers and Kyle Hamilton.
Hit him. Just hit him. For you. Most people are like, how am I going to get him down? Nah, but I think that's the mentality you got to take. I mean, obviously, it's not an easy task, but, you're in the league, too, for a reason. So I think you got to have confidence when you go in there. But, like I said, that's a tall task, and he's made a living running people over and stiff-arming people. So, you kind of just gotta find it somewhere and hit him.
It's so simple. Just say you guys are on his team, though. That's the problem, Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's awesome, and he is part of an amazing Ravens defense that is talented once again, and they are trying to stack up and compete with the big three offenses in the AFC this year to reach the pinnacle: the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Bills. How do we think this is going to go, Manti, for this this group of Ravens defenders who are good every year, but it's, again, a tall task in the AFC?
I think it's going to go well, and I think defensively, if you look at the landscape of last year for them, the first half of the season, they really struggled. Under Zach Orr was first-year defensive coordinator, so you're expecting some growth pain there. But then the second half of the season comes along, and they start to dominate. Matter of fact, they start to become one of the best, if not the best, defense in the NFL, ranking first in a whole bunch of categories. I don't know if we have that graphic, but they're just first in a whole bunch of categories. And you add guys like Jair Alexander and Malachi Starks to it. Like, guys, when I say dominance, like, it's first, right down the line.
They figured it out.
Like, they figured it out. Now, Kyle Hamilton had a lot to do with that, moving him around. But when you apply Malachi Starks to that equation, Jair Alexander too, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Kyle Hamilton, you can only imagine that defense starts to look like the traditional Baltimore Ravens defense of old. Now, how do they stack up against those guys? I think they stack up pretty well. I think it's going to be a really good, really exciting season for them defensively and offensively. So, I'm really excited to see this Ravens defense take on that form that they had late in the season last year.
Yeah, it's going to be unique. It's going to be must-see TV versus all these teams. We'll start with the Bengals. This is going to be the purest 7-on-7 pitch and catch test, right? You have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki. They just signed Noah Fant, another tight end. And this is going to be the purest test, like, can your DBs outside match up with us? And if you cannot get to Joe Burrow, it's going to be a problem. And then you look at the Buffalo Bills, with Josh Allen, you really have to try to take away movement with him, right? Set the edges and really try to keep him in the pocket and force him to throw the ball downfield, which he also does very well. But you want to limit his quarterback runs because that's where he can hurt you. And then you go to the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to get a lot of more complex situations like RPOs, zone schemes. And so now you're really battling, Orr versus Andy Reid in that situation. Of course, you got, Mahomes as the quarterback, but they're going to have a lot of unique situations, a lot of unique matchups when it comes to these games. But it's going to be fun. And if anyone is built for it defensively, reasons why, as you mentioned, Manti, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens.
It is going to be fun, and it is going to be exciting, and it always is with the Ravens. Because I find the Ravens very difficult to talk about because it all just comes to the same answer every time, especially this year. You know, the Ravens didn't make dramatic moves in the offseason because they didn't need to, and they shouldn't make dramatic moves. They have the coach, they have the players, they have the roster, they have the quarterback. It's just, can they make enough plays in that game in the playoffs? That's all it is. It's all it was last year. It's all it's going to be next year. I see Bills and Bengals and Chiefs, and it's like, we know these guys are going to fight at the end of the movie. It's like you want to just fast forward to the end. You understand? It's like Frank Dukes is going to fight Chong Li in the championship round of the Kumite. Let's just get there. We know that. The Ravens are going to be very good this year. Their defense is going to be good. Their offense is going to be good. Just like last year, just like next year. Now, some teams, they're more interesting and more mysterious. I don't know if the Steelers are going to be good this year. I'm not really sure. I don't know if the Bears are going to be good this year. I know the Ravens are going to be good. You know they're going to be good. Probably great. It's just one of these teams where I don't really need to know anything else. I know it's what we do, and we get into the minutia of their defense and their schemes, and that's wonderful, and that's football. The net sum of all of it is, will you make enough plays to beat the Bills, Chiefs, Bengals? Usually, they don't. So this year, will it be different? I don't know. But it's like they are one of 4 see you in January teams. I can't wait for it. But in the meantime, it's difficult to talk about just because that's the only answer anyone's interested in.
Kyle, I didn't know this about the Ravens, but in terms of see you in January, like, how about, can I interest you in a Week 17 Ravens at Packers game? Because that's going down at Lambeau in late December. That's incredible. In the scheduling God's gift in the universe, a Week 17 Ravens Packers. Woo!
Who's going to play in that game, though?
I don't care. I want to see it.
That's what
I don't like it, but I don't mind too much the training camp passing stats getting tweeted and shared on the internet because I think there's a hunger for it, and I think fans want it. There's also a bloodlust that goes on for players failing in training camp, for players looking bad, for throwing ugly passes, for throwing pick sixes. Player looks sharp, boring. Let me see the terrible, unsightly interception footage with which I can make fun of that player and tweet jokes. Over the weekend, the Bears had their family night scrimmage at Soldier Field, on Soldier Field. Caleb Williams threw a really ugly interception. Here's the fan-captured video with the phone from the stands that makes the internet, and everyone lost their minds. Here's just one of the tweets that came up about Caleb throwing an interception the first week in August. Caleb Williams already in midseason form. Fire. Now, far be it from me to criticize the people at Hater Report. It's not exactly the Associated Press, but I do think that accounts like this, God bless them, drive conversations, create narratives, establish reputations for players. And I would just respond to this type of joke, which was everywhere, Caleb Williams already in midseason form. Are you talking about like last year in the midseason when he went 9 straight games without throwing an interception? 9 straight games, every single one of them a loss for the Bears because his coordinator got fired, his coach got fired. Mid-season form, Bears fans should hope so. He didn't throw a single interception as a rookie through the midseason with no offensive line, trying to gel as a rookie with everyone around him getting fired. His only midseason play was incredible under horrific duress. I got a text from somebody yesterday in the media, someone that you know, that just said, Caleb Williams panic time? And I wanted to punch this person through the phone. You would think right now, based on the reaction to Caleb Williams' interception on August 3rd, that it is actually October 14th, the Bears are 1-4, and he's suffering badly. There is something specific about the Bears quarterbacks where it's comfortable for the internet for them to be inept, for them to be bad. They want them as a character to kick around. They want to meme them for being bad. They've done it since the internet was invented, and they don't want to stop. That's fine, but don't do it based on an August 3rd interception when I just told you he played over 2 months of football without throwing one. And Caleb Williams, far from the first person to have this happen to. Let's look back a little bit. Let's look back to the year 2019 when Lamar Jackson is having his training camp, and maybe things aren't looking that great. And the tweet comes out. This is just one of many. Lamar having issues throwing the football. Several of his passes wobbled through the air, and everyone loses their minds. Oh, we should have stuck with Flacco. Lamar, he can't throw, he can't pass. Then Lamar takes the field for 2019, and the very first game of that season, Lamar threw for 5 touchdowns with no picks. 5-0. He went on to win the league MVP. Look at this. This was the fish in a barrel game week 1. He beats the Bengals. He was the best player in the NFL, but you go back a month and you think it's hilarious that we were losing our mind about wobbly passes in training camp. You want another example? How about Brock Purdy? Looked at as Mr. Irrelevant. 2023 training camp. 10 interceptions in training camp for Brock Purdy so far. 2 interceptions in today's practice. I don't know if he's up to being the leading man for Kyle Shanahan. Guess what? First 5 weeks of the season, Purdy 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Led the NFL through the first couple of months in ratio. Went all the way to the Super Bowl. Yet there's a tweet from Augustin. I don't know, 2 more picks in practice. Guys, it's fine to track the statistics, draw the conclusions if you want, but these dramatic overreactions are so obnoxious, so overdone, so pessimistic, so critical of players. If anything, overreact to how good someone's touchdown looks. Try that. Maybe they won't be that good during the season, but it's fun to celebrate a player trying to find his footing like Caleb Williams in the NFL. I really do think it's a Caleb thing. I think it's a Bears-specific thing. I don't know what the internet would do when and if Caleb Williams becomes a fantastic player in his second year. What are the jokes going to be about? You'll always find something, but in the meantime, Caleb threw a terrible interception over this weekend. Who knows? Maybe he threw it to try to put on a show for the fans. Maybe he threw it because it's practice and screw it. Or maybe it's August 3rd and he's having a really difficult time right now adjusting to Ben Johnson's offense. He's got a month. He's got talent. He's got a supporting cast. I know everybody's got jokes. It's just way too much, especially when that joke is midseason form. And the only time we've seen him in the midseason, he's been in excellent form. Find a new joke, please. Thank you, guys. Manti Teo.
I love that, KB. That's God's work right there. It reminded me of when Jamar Chase was in his rookie year and in training camp, they're like, oh, he's dropping passes. He doesn't know how to catch the ball. And then fast forward, AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like that's just what happens. I'm so glad that, KB, you identified that because as a player, one of the things I'm passionate about on this show is giving players a voice and giving them a narrative and giving some perspective for the fans at home who we love, but just giving them perspective as to how these guys think and what they may be going through. So, KB, bravo, brother, bravo.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here smiling, man, because my guy Aaron Rodgers threw a pick 6.
Yeah.
You know, hey, love it, man. He threw a pick 6. Great things on the horizon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go.
It's the contrarian approach to it. It's like read what you have to hear about these guys and then take the opposite stance. Kyle, when you see tweets like this from media members, let's say, do you ever directly reach out to the person and you're like, come on, man, like you didn't have to put that out about that guy. Do you take this upon yourself, put on the hero cape, if you will, for the player? And you're like, on behalf of this dude, stop it with this August 3rd reporting.
Couple things. I have a bylaw in my career that I don't do Twitter beef. I find it pathetic. I don't like it. I don't get into any of that stuff. 2, I don't reply to these accounts on Twitter because I have my own television show, so I can just do it on TV.
Wise.
Flex on.
You got a real voice. You have a real voice, KB.
Perfect. Well,